This time on Star Trek Universe, we are discussing Prodigy 103 Starstruck, right after these mystery sponsors tell you about the stuff they want you to buy.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on the continuing Star Trek conversation that two lifelong friends have been having since they were 6 years old. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I am David C. Robertson.
Dave, how's it going, bud?
Man, I'm loving Star Trek. I'm telling you that.
Me too, buddy. Me too. Let's get right into it because it is late and I've been riding hard this weekend. So I am ready to dive into some Star Trek, and then dive into some covers.
I hear you, man.
Let's see. So what'd you think of this, your second Prodigy episode?
Dude, I dug it, man. Like, if the first two-part episode's purpose was to, get us acquainted with, the unwanted or, the kids on the ship and the diviner and all these bad guys, this episode feels very purposed to acquaint us with, Hollow Janeway and the Protostar ship. And importantly, for people who don't know anything about Star Trek, for kids, presumably, it gets us into the Federation ideals and introduces us to those things. I loved it so much, and it was perhaps, I think, one of the most graceful exposition dumps I've ever seen.
Sure. They definitely, created a reason for the exposition dump. I don't know if I'd go with graceful, because it's very, here is the exposition dump, and here it is. They hang a lantern on it, I guess. So there's that. Yeah. In that respect, it's graceful.
There's not a whole lot of other ways to do an exposition dump like that.
Yeah, of that magnitude.
Yeah, it's just here's holographic Janeway to explain what the hell you're supposed to be, part of. What is
the Federation? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to thinking a lot about this episode. They were talking about this ship. I'm I want to theorize about what the deal with the diviner is. And my thought is now, do you think he was part of the original crew of the Protostar?
That hadn't occurred to me, no.
I was just thinking about, he knows it exists.
Mm-hmm.
These other people don't know what the Federation is. All these other people from this part of space.
Right.
And when Hollow Janeway shows up for the first time, she says, "I'm here to help you navigate back to Federation space," as if that was part of the
original Protostar mission. Yeah.
Right. Was to just jump out there and then travel back, I guess.
Yeah. Which, we've got a Tellarite in the Delta Quadrant who doesn't know what the Federation is, which means that, to me, a gateway or some way of getting to the Delta Quadrant for everyone else is also available. And this, what is his name? Pog?
Yeah. Junkum Pog.
Jankum Pog, yeah. I just want to say Jason Matsoukas.
Right.
Yeah, so obviously he was in some way not, available for that. He didn't know what the hell the Federation was. I think it's interesting. There's some story there to be told, I feel.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know where the Tellarites sit in the Alpha and Beta Quadrant, and whether they're just more widely spread, or
they literally co-founded the Federation with the Andorians and the humans.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. So you'd think he'd know what the Federation is.
Yep. We first saw them in Journey to Babel on the original series, arguing with Sarek, and then Enterprise solidified that they were part of the initial Federation alliance. Right.
Well, that Kazon in the first episode said they were full of orphans and criminals, and so the question is what is Jankum? Is he a criminal that ended up here? Was he, part of a team of Tellarites that came out here before the Federation's founding? Was he an orphan who never got to learn about the Federation before he was swept up in this whole thing?
Yeah, I'm very dubious as to whether there are actual criminals involved here.
Sure. Absolutely. Although it would be kind of interesting if, we find out one of them was a criminal, led a criminal lifestyle before this. How old is Jankum? Is he young? Because I know the rest of the crew seems very young.
He seems young, but I don't know. They haven't given an actual age.
Right.
Old enough to be a suitable engineer.
Yeah, that's kind of what makes me think he's older, but, you know, who knows?
I mean, he might be a Wesley Crusher. Who knows?
Yeah. Plus, he mostly, what did he call it? Concussive engineering or something like that?
Percussive.
Percussive engineering, yeah. Percussive maintenance. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't finish what I was getting at with the diviner, the idea that he might be part of the original crew. Because also he's like, he knows about the protostar. Presumably he knows its mission, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that it may have jumped out here. And between two warp drives, there's an unidentified sphere that does something different.
It might be transwarp. That was my first thought. Yeah,
transwarp, or who knows? Or some sort of, probably not spore drive, but, you know, could be teleportation though, or could be, you know, creating wormholes, could be doing any number of things that my thinking was could be time travel for that matter. I just have no idea.
It could be. And, you know, there was a lot of conjecture based on the diviner's language in the first episode that, you know, they might be from the future, the diviner, that is.
Right. Yep.
So.
Yeah. So, we know that this Janeway character is like, you know, one of the most decorated captains in the Federation or whatever. So like, sure, she probably was that by the time she came back from the Delta Quadrant, but like,
oh, for sure. I mean, they basically made her admiral right away. I mean, in Nemesis, she was an admiral. Yeah,
absolutely. But my point is, like, would they immediately turn her into a hologram, or is this 100 years later? You know what I mean? Like this, we kind of have this idea that, or could the ship, I guess not so much the character, but the ship could have come from 100 years in the future.
They've been rather tight-lipped about it, but they have said that Robert Beltran is coming back as Chakotay, and I don't think he's going to be a hologram.
No, I mean, the ship is from 100 years in the future, so like...
Oh, well, no, I was just going to...
If the diviner, if the diviner's from the future, maybe he came back with his ship.
That's a good point, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
The protostar being 100 years old doesn't necessarily mean that they can't have... Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So like maybe
sorry, I just
even
tied
if we're
that together in my head without reason.
Totally fine. Even if we are in the current timeline, or like the, you know, say we're near Picard, the same timeline as Picard, and we meet Captain Chakotay or whatever. Yeah. Like the diviner and the ship could be from the future. I don't know if I kind of feel like that. I want it to be something more clever than that, because I feel like the future thing is so done, but like it would also be good probably.
I think I'd be good with Diviner being from the future, but I don't want Protostar to be from the future.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. Like,
yeah.
Both of those
they
things
definitely
are true,
don't have to be together.
Yeah. Like, I think I would rather, like, I don't know, there'd be some, I like elements of time travel, but I don't want it to be like all about time travel.
Sure. And yeah, I get that.
I think I would rather see, like, I really want to see Federation ships from, you know, around the time of Picard. Not, you know.
And the ships they showed in this episode, the little holograms of the ships were all kind of ships we knew, which, so clearly it doesn't seem like they've advanced too much by the time the Protostar exists. And
they had some really cool little Easter eggs in there. Like, it basically just looked like an animation cell from the animated series with Spock saluting his Andorian counterpart from the alternate timeline in the animated series.
That's really neat that they included that. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so frustrated with this episode just because Dahl was being such an idiot. Like, I get it, they're children, or at least they're young, and it's supposed to be him, like, learning a lesson about a little bit of humility and asking for help and da-da-da, but, like, just so dumb.
Yeah, he's not terribly bright. I mean, he is, but he's also, like, incredibly egotistical.
Exactly.
And I liked that Janeway sort of just hung back and let them figure it all out for themselves.
Yeah.
And I also like the idea that, like, you know, sometimes you have to, like, it's like Batman and Batman v Superman. It's like Bruce when he's like, he runs, everyone else is running away from the problem. He's running into it. Like, sometimes you have to, like, run towards your issues and your shit to deal with it.
Yeah. I enjoy his, like, brashness and, like, bravery or whatever, but also it, like, it is coupled with the stupidity. He's just doing very dumb things. Mm-hmm. And, so yeah, I mean, it'll be fun. It'll play out, but I think he'll learn and grow. But, as this episode was mostly frustrating because I'm like, just listen to the freaking computer that's trying to tell you how to get out of the life-threatening situation you've put yourself in against your wishes.
But at the same time, I don't necessarily blame him because the one thing Janeway said is, oh, you don't want to go there. And the way he talked to it, he said the Federation is just another name for someone else in charge. And I mean, make no mistake about it, all of these kids, they've been severely abused.
For sure.
They in no way should trust any authority figure. So the fact that he was like willing to be like, no, screw it, we're going to do the exact opposite of what you say makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's like that emotional maturity of a kid who has been horribly abused for a long period of time. So it made sense to me on that level. Yeah,
that's a great point. These characters are resistant to authority. The only authority, it was like, I guess it would be better if I knew a little more about their lives before. Because this does seem like we're supposed to just believe they're just, all they know is these minds, kind of, you know what I mean?
I mean, it does seem that way, at least for some of them, like, you know.
Rock, particularly.
Oh my God. That was heartbreaking when she said that was the only thing she'd ever eaten.
Made me really, really sad. Really, I think I teared up a little bit for Rock there.
Oh, I totally did.
Yeah. It was well done. I think Rock's character is like one of my favorites so far. Mm-hmm. Super lovable, you know?
Yeah. And that was another thing, like, yes, they had the big, like, exposition dump where she's showing the holograms and stuff, but the food replicator scene was another great little, like, graceful moment of explaining, like, we don't use traditional currency,
right,
in the Federation, so you can have the food for free. And I thought they did a really good job with, like, you know, Jankum, Pog kind of feel like looking a little sad and saying he didn't really have any credits or anything. Like,
right. Yeah.
Like I thought they did a really good job with that. So
yeah, it seems to me Jankum at least has some knowledge of the outside world because he knows how money works. He's an engineer. Like Jankum seems like he has a past at least. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it does make me wonder if maybe he'll turn out to be one of the criminals. Which I still don't think he'll be like a bad guy, but I just think maybe there'll be something interesting there for his past.
There's a great line in Stargirl in this season. There's a character named Shade says, there's the difference between bad guys and evil men, you know, like, and it offered a lot of shade to his character. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man. Mm-hmm. Not to get off on another thing, but I can't even explain the concept of the show without ruining it. I watched a show called Black Mass this week that we're going to be podcasting about.
Okay.
And it's just got me, like, it's really in my brain right now. But yeah, it deals with a lot of that, like, what is bad, what is good, what is evil.
Mm-hmm. Any relation to the story of Whitey Bulger?
No.
Okay, because there was a movie called Black Mass with Johnny Depp as
wait, did I say Black Mass? Sorry. Yeah. It was Midnight Mass. My bad.
Oh, Midnight Mass. Okay.
Midnight Mass.
Yeah, that was a fantastic movie, by the way.
I've heard that's really good. I've been wanting to check it out. I just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, it's good.
I will absolutely check it out. Midnight Mass. If you like horror, especially if you like horror and you have a lot of like sort of a religious upbringing, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'll tell you about it off cast, but I don't want to spoil it because I don't think I don't know, maybe you'd watch it.
I might.
You're just so busy, but there's like a major spoiler that like one, you can't even really talk about what the show is really about without talking about this big spoiler.
Look,
so
I saw the trailer. I saw the trailer for that. I thought it looked all right. But we're not big horror fans over here.
Yeah.
But if you're, you're kind of hinting at some stuff, and I might actually give it a shot. I can't promise.
I am super. I really enjoyed it, and it's not deep horror. It's more about like people and their relationships than anything else. But like, it definitely
I just don't like hack 'em ups.
It's not a hack 'em up. Definitely not a hack 'em up. I mean, there's a few moments here and there. There's like honestly, there's actually, and I guess trigger warning for those of you who can't handle animal pain. There's one scene where an animal gets hurt, and it like I almost turned it off because it was so sort of realistic, and I was just like, no, I can't.
Okay.
But other than that, there's actually a lot of moments where animals get hurt in the early parts of the season, but most of it was like they just found a dead cat or whatever. But there's one scene where you watch an animal die, and I was just like, no. It was rough.
Well, I did make it through the leftovers, so.
Oh yeah. But it's good. It's good show. Good show. Pretty serious though. Anyway, back to talking about the children's show, not the bloody horror related show. I think it's another good episode of Prodigy though. I liked it. I do like the fact that they're introducing the ship and the Federation. I love the way they're using the show as like a way of just like, this episode particularly is like, this is what Star Trek is.
Yeah.
It's like you solve problems on a ship using these tools.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it is ever talking down to the audience. So it doesn't like, I know you keep saying it's a children's show, and I know that's who it's aimed at, but it feels very inclusive for everyone.
Oh, I completely agree. I don't mean it as an insult to call it a children's show, but it is a children's show, like clearly. I don't think that there's like, I don't think that's an insult though, and I don't think that means like you can't enjoy it as an adult either. Like,
yeah,
but it's just got a target of being a kids show. Like they're clearly targeting kids who've never heard of Star Trek. Like, and if you look at the Prodigy page on CBS, the two extras they have like the trailers for Prodigy and stuff like that. But then the interview extras they have are two children, I guess the two people who play the main characters or whatever, a male and a female child. And it says, what is Star Trek? Like, that's like them explaining what is Star Trek to other children. Like, that's literally like that's what this show is aimed at doing. This is, Paramount being like, we see that our new shows, Discovery, Picard, all these shows are not bringing in that demographic, that very important to the future of Star Trek demographic of children. And they're like, well, we better do something about that. And they made this show. And I think like, it's great though. Like I'm not saying it in an insulting way. Like I think that's their goal, but I think like they're doing a really good job of making it accessible for me. Cause I'm really glad I'm not sitting through a show that I'm just like, why do I have to watch this show to podcast about it? Cause it's like, it's Star Trek. So I guess I'll watch it.
I don't know if you noticed, but like they answered a question that a bunch of old angry Trekkies have been asking.
Oh yeah. What's that?
How should we expect these, like, whatever it is, 4 or 5 kids to, like, maintain an entire starship? But the Janeway hologram explains that she does, like, maintain the ship's lower level functions.
Yeah, exactly. They make the decisions. And it seems though, if you're going to have especially a training ship of some sort, it seems you'd also want it to, like, override them when they make decisions that are going to kill them. You know what I mean? Like, yes, lower functions, great. Run the whole ship or whatever. But it also, like, that is true. That is true that they tried to answer that question. It doesn't exactly answer the reason, like, the ships have so many people on them, though.
I mean, it does because, you can have like a few, just like on Voyager, you can have a few doctors, and generally you would have, 2 or 3 doctors with a primary chief medical officer. But it's nice to have that EMH in case you don't have any of that. Shit happens in the black, man.
Sure. My point is, like, jumping from the six children that are apparently going to be able to run the Prodigy to the, like, complement of, like, how many people are on the Enterprise D? Like, well, that's true. That has children on it. So we'll how many people are on Voyager? Like 160 or something like that?
I think it was 150.
Right. You know? Somewhere in that range.
But, I think as the shows progress, it's interesting because, back in the original series, I think it was something like 450, something like that, crew members on the Enterprise. And then they jumped ahead to the future and TNG, and it was well over 1,000. And then Voyager, they have 150. Like, yeah, it just depends on the size of the ship. And of course, the Enterprise D was way bigger than Voyager.
And I'm curious about the size of Prodigy in relation to those.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty interested in that as well. But I just think it depends on the ship, and obviously, as they get further along in technology, they could create smaller ships that, require less personnel to, get the hell out of a place or to run it. I'm very curious to know what happened to the Protostar crew.
See, that's what I was going to get at. I keep getting derailed, but I was trying to tell my whole, like, theory about the Diviner. And how he seems very angry and seems like he has some sort of score to settle and he wants the ship back and all this stuff. And it made me, and then I thought about the fact that what if he has a connection to the Protostar and then his whole crew is missing? Like, what if he somehow, like, was in, what if they're doing an experiment to send everyone to the other side of the universe or sends everyone back in time? One of those two things. And he's, like, the only survivor of an event like that. Maybe him and his daughter are the only survivors. And he, like, has, like, a vendetta against the Federation for abandoning him and his crew or, like, doing an experiment that killed them all,
Yeah, but the way he talked about how they were the last of their kind, the last of their species, was very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved the vehicle replicator.
Oh yeah, I liked that too. Especially there's been a lot of consternation about that with Voyager.
Well, I did not remember this. But I saw someone mention it on Twitter, and I can't wait because I'm doing a Voyager rewatch, as I've talked about. And I'm in season 2. I've kind of held off until I could get my thoughts together on season 1 and put out a cast, like a short cast for the Star Trek UCast. And, but apparently in season 5, in the episode where they build the Delta Flyer, Janeway, like, explicitly tells the senior staff that while they do have like a shuttle replicator, they are not to tell Tom Paris about it because she knows he'll abuse it.
Wait. Okay.
So they've been replicating shuttles. That's how they keep having shuttles on Voyager. But they can't tell Tom Paris about it because he'll abuse the energy reserves and just make a bunch of shit he shouldn't.
All right. I also like that they call it a vehicle replicator or something like that. And it said something like, I didn't write it down, but, it can replicate any vehicle. So I'm wondering, like, what else they'll replicate other than just shuttles.
Yeah, no, that's, but I really enjoyed the fight scene between, Rok-Tahk and,
it was so good.
It was. And Gwen,
yeah, when the things kept getting, like, replicated onto them and stuff, and, like, it was super cool.
Absolutely. And I enjoyed it from, like, an action perspective. It was really cool the way they did it. But I also loved that there wasn't, like, Rok-Tahk tells her, "You're a bad lady." So, like, this question of, was she complicit or was she just taking orders? Like, and then we don't, like, there's no redemption for Gwen yet. Like,
no,
it's still just like, it's just there and is a thing that we have to think about.
There was a really nice moment for Gwen though, when they all win, they all escape the, like, whatever, the gravity well. And, she hears them all cheering. and she smiles for just a second, and then her smile turns dark, you know? And it's like, she's clearly like excited for them, excited like, but then she's sad that she's not actually on the team, you know?
Yeah, of course she could have just been, you know, happy that they didn't all die.
Yeah. But I think there's a little more to it than that, but yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just being an ass.
Indeed you are. I'm just kidding.
Howdy.
Oh man. Well, cool, dude. Well, I liked this episode. I think I'm excited to watch the next one.
Yeah.
As always. How many weeks do we have till Discovery?
I think I don't know. I tell you every week, but
really
I don't remember. It's in November. I think it's November 17th, maybe.
Is that right? Man. So it's the same week as Hawkeye comes out then.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's going to get a busy time. We've got 2 Star Trek shows running, and we've got an MCU series going.
Yeah. Oh, it's November 18th is when Discovery premieres.
Okay. I want to say the 17th is Hawkeye.
I really liked, and again, Trek Twitter is the best.
The 24th is Hawkeye, sorry. Trek Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, Trek Twitter is the best because I find out stuff sometimes before I watch the episode, and that sucks. But this Chimerium, the thing that he had them mining, we found out that he's using it for a cloaking device. The Diviner is,
yeah.
And I have not gotten to these books, but that's another thing that comes from the books, like the novels.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it was like in what is it? Starfleet Corps of Engineers, and it was in a couple of the A Time to Kill, A Time to Heal TNG novels. Like that was another thing that was introduced, and which makes sense because one of the big Star Trek novelists right now, David Mack, is a consultant on Prodigy.
Cool.
So I like I said last week, I am very happy with extended universe people being brought in to flesh out the universe. I think there's, why create something new when you can do the same thing and then have like that extra touch of it having existed in a thing that, fans have been enjoying not on the screen. Like,
yeah. Like I get when there's something that is, as a writer, sometimes those smaller stories from the books or whatever could hamstring what you want to do. But if those stories were doing their job properly, they probably weren't doing things that like would cross that line. But little touchstones like that, like a material that can be used from the books, that's perfect. That's the perfect kind of little nods to the fans and like respect, giving a little bit of respect to the fans that have been with you all along, It's great. I love it.
Favorite moment of the episode, was Zero saying, "A dying star, what a rare and exciting way to meet our doom."
It was good. It was good.
But yeah, I think it's a fantastic show. As a 38-year-old man, I am enraptured. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I really liked the line, Dahl is in the captain's quarters and he's acting like who would need this kind of quarters? Like he wasn't just like, enjoying it. And Zero says, "I can still read your mind." And then he slams the door and yells through, "How about now?" It was good. Yeah. There's just some good comic timing on that.
They had a lot of great little comedic timing things with Zero, reading Dahl's mind. Like when, Gwen was basically threatening him with her father, how he'll hunt him down and stuff. And he's like, "What's a guy in a tank gonna do? Swim at me? Ha ha ha." And then Zero goes, "You laugh, yet your mind is reeling in pure terror."
Yeah, it was really good. It was good.
Yeah. And I loved how they used the anti-gravity thing. How because they lost gravity, and he finally asks Janeway for help, and he says, "How do I get my feet on the ground?" And she says, "All you had to do was ask." Like, that is like such a nice like metaphor for what she's trying to get them to do in the episode. And I'm simple, so maybe that was a little too on the nose. I don't know, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I like it a lot. I think it's perfect. Is that about all you got?
That's all I got, man. I enjoyed it though.
Yeah, me too. 100%. And I am excited for the next episode. And, we'll be back with you guys in a few days with the next Prodigy episode 4. Jolan True.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.